Why is a question that we often ask ourselves. I don't have a 100% answer because quite often, I just don't know. Try to remember your own why. Why am I here? Why am I doing what I do? Sometimes we ask these questions not because we genuinely want to find the answer, but because there's an anxiety inside us, and it's such a strange feeling that's hard to explain. It comes when you seem to be busy with your own affairs, but at some point something stops you, a lump in your throat and heaviness in your chest. If you're familiar with this, first and foremost, don't worry. I feel that way regularly too. And if we experience this, it can be a wonderful opportunity to discuss it. Hello, my bees. It's Yajera with you. Today, I want to talk about why we often get stuck in these questions and how to learn to accept them without pressure. You know that feeling when you feel like you're doing everything right, working, studying, socializing, but deep inside, there's this quiet voice asking, why are you doing all this? Or at night, when you can't sleep and suddenly this feeling hits. I'm sure you understand exactly what I mean. Let's not waste time and let's jump into the podcast. Hello, everyone. You're on the Minecraft Bro channel. As always, I just want to remind you not to forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's get started. So I think it's right to begin by saying that such a question is normal. I probably face it almost every day throughout my life. And I've noticed something interesting. These questions come up when I'm deeply involved in some process, as if my little Pokemon is asking whether I'm moving in the right direction. And many people would say at this point that it's time to stop. After all, if there are doubts, then your idea is doomed to fail. But here's my observation. Confidence isn't about the absence of doubts. Confidence is about the ability to keep moving forward despite them. And here's what's interesting. Where do these doubts come from? I've noticed that most often they arise not because we don't know what we want, but because we're simply afraid of making mistakes. Unfortunately, our whole life is shaped in such a way that in school and kindergarten, we are taught that making mistakes is bad. Here's a bad grade because you did the task wrong. Here's a remark because you tried something new and it didn't work out. And from childhood, this fear of mistakes forms in us, as if it determines our value as individuals. And I myself make mistakes every day. A few months ago, I released a video about the Skibidi toilet. Can that be called a mistake? Sure. Will that video leave a mark on my entire life? Maybe. Do I regret it? Probably not. After all, it's experience. And here's the thing. Mistakes are an inevitable part of the journey, even if they seem silly, even if they make us cringe afterward. But we always learn something important. So, here's my advice. If you have ideas you want to realize, but you're unsure whether it's worth it, my answer is go for it. Believe me, even if it turns out to be a mistake, it will be experience. Because if you don't try, you'll get nothing. It's better to try, even if it doesn't work out, than to sit and wonder what could have been. This is one of the simplest, but in my opinion, one of the coolest lessons. Action is always better than inaction. Let's be honest. How many times have you avoided something because you were afraid it wouldn't work out? How many times have you wanted to meet someone, but then felt shy and didn't approach them? And then you stand there, running 1,000 scenarios in your head about what could go wrong, and in the end, you do nothing. And you know what's the worst part? You'll never know what could have happened if you had tried. I remember a couple of months ago, I saw a cute girl. I was too shy to approach her, but I thought, what the heck? I'll go for it. So I went up to her and started talking. And as I was saying something, she asked me several times to repeat what I said, because I live in a city where everyone speaks English and I have an accent. And damn, it was one of the most awkward feelings in the world. Not only was I worried about my accent, but also in that moment when I needed to gather my courage and appear as confident as possible, everything went wrong. But you know what's the most interesting thing? I don't regret it. I know very well that if I hadn't approached her, I would have tortured myself with thoughts about how I should have gone up to her, wondering if maybe this was the love of my life. Yes, I felt awkward, but I took the step. Regret, on the other hand, could have stayed with me for a long time. By the way, I want to share an interesting moment with you that I saw a long time ago on YouTube. You have a situation with two options, and you don't know which one to choose. One option has drawbacks, and the other does too. And in this case, I saw a cool trick. Take a coin, assign each option to one side, and flip it. Now here's the interesting part. While the coin is in the air, you already know which result you want. Want to see it? It's not magic. It's not randomness. It works because of your inner voice. The coin doesn't decide for you. It just helps you understand which way your inner Pokemon is leaning. If in the end, you really didn't feel anything, then in that case, you can turn to logic. Write down the pros and cons of each option. Don't try to find the perfect answer right away because it might not even exist. Sometimes it's important to just see the whole picture and realize that one option is a little better, even if just slightly. Now, going back to the topic, we've already established that most of our inner questions arise because of doubts and fear of mistakes, and that's really true. But let's look at our inner problems from another perspective. What if these questions aren't a problem, but an opportunity? An opportunity to slow down, take a fresh look at your life, and maybe even change direction. Sometimes we get so caught up in our tasks that we forget to stop and ask ourselves, what do I really want? Try thinking about that. Maybe inside, something is already telling you it's time to reassess your goals. Maybe this voice, these doubts, aren't weakness, but a signal that's worth paying attention to. And when you start looking at these questions as opportunities rather than problems, a lot can change. Instead of trying to find the answers right away, just try to chill and be with these questions. Don't force yourself to solve everything in this very second. Sometimes it's better to give yourself time to realize what is really bothering you. Sometimes our revelations come precisely when we allow ourselves to just exist, not searching for answers, not chasing a solution, but simply observing. Not everything in life needs to have an answer. Sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. And if you're doubting yourself or feeling lost right now, remember that not all questions require answers, but each one can be a step towards something greater.